it's the end of Valentine's Day, and depending on who screwed up, you might now be single. So today we're going to talk about breakups via SI or NI. Yeah, like it's based on our personal experiences, but also based on the theory of why we think we react this way or cope this way to breakups.
All right.
Yay!
Let's get into it. Okay, wait, maybe this is like a weird way to start, but we were talking about what it would be like if we knew our boyfriend's female friend was like an ex of theirs and how we would like respond to that sort of situation. And
Right.
For me, I said I think it would have been easier if they already had a relationship, like an actual relationship as opposed to like just like a fling or like a one-night stand or something.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying this. Right. Okay.
Because then I would know that they would have broken up for a reason. And then I would feel like anything that potentially was between them had already like been resolved, and then probably there would be nothing going into the future. So I think this is very NI because it's like I would just be worried about the future potential of something happening between them.
So you would feel worse if it's just like a random female friend that they had no history with?
No. I mean, if it was just a female friend, that'd be fine. But if it was a female friend that maybe like they once just like hooked up or something.
Oh, that's worse? Okay.
Yeah, because I would feel like, oh man, there might be like feelings between them potentially, but they never actually got to explore that in the form of a relationship. So maybe there's like still lingering feelings to this day, right? So that might concern me because I guess, right, NI is kind of future oriented and it's also like cause and effect oriented. So I feel like if there was a relationship and they actually had a breakup, then there is like a resolute reason for that breakup, and that would kind of ease my mind knowing like, okay, at least...
Okay, this whole like resolute reason thing, I'm gonna just diverge a little bit because
Sure.
I'm gonna return, I will remember. No, this whole like NI reason thing is so true because dating INTJ person, like breaking up, I think he was like, must find the reason. Like it couldn't just be feel like it. It's like you must find the reason and fix all the reasons, but sometimes things are not fixable and sometimes there is no reason. Or maybe it's just like so many different factors that coalescing that you can't really untangle it from everything else that's happening in your life.
So then I think your response to that was interesting. It was more like SI, right?
I probably just wouldn't care, to be honest. Maybe not just me, but I think a lot of like lower SI users, they just, I don't know. Hey guys, you can tell us if this is a trend. Like in my personal life, I feel like it's a trend that lower SI users tend to not be jealous. I was thinking of like higher SI users, and I have this too, like if I was in that situation I would definitely like imagine them having sex all the time, but then I just wouldn't mind because it already happened, like what can I do about it, blah. But so I just assume that like a higher SI user, like they might have more of an issue just because, yeah, I feel like SI is so connected to the past. So when the SI user is looking at the partner and the ex-friend, whatever, it's not just the current sensations, that's always going to be tied to the knowledge of knowing that they were once together. And so it is the same for me too, even though I would just accept that situation, but like, yeah, it is still the same, like my mind will always go there anyway. Yeah, I think that's really interesting because for us SI users, it's like way about how our current present reality is always affected by the past, and there's kind of no separation. For you, it's the future, right? For NI, it's like, what is the future potential based on the past, like trajectory? You're like, well, they broke up, so there is no potential. My heart can rest. But yeah, for us, it's totally different.
And this is interesting. I think it kind of led to something about how the two preceding axes conceptualize time. And maybe this is something we can actually just talk about in more detail in a different video, but I feel like with SI, it's like once an association is made, it's just like always there. It's sort of like timeless in that sense, right? Yeah. Whereas this, for NI, SE, I think it's like, okay, I know that maybe like they had sex before, but like every time I would look at them together, I wouldn't always associate
it's like
that.
a fresh SE thing? Like it's just a brand new SE
Yeah, it's just a
thing.
brand new experience with like a brand new potential NI future. So it's like that's what I'm looking at. I'm not really thinking about like these timeless SI associations.
No, for the SI, it's like forever tainted.
But I think this is important. This is why I wanted to start with this, because I think that's how maybe SI and NI differ with breaking up. Like, okay, for me, it's hard because I don't think I've ever had like a really difficult breakup. Okay. So it's not like I've ever been like really truly heartbroken, because I'm sure if I was heartbroken, like it would take me a lot of time to get over that. But I think just in general, in terms of the cognitive functions, like it's easy for me just to kind of start anew and like imagine a fresh NI future without this person, or with like potentially a new or better person. But I think for the SI users, it's like you will always have those past associations with your past partner, like to some degree, maybe not like that they're always like right in the front of your memory, but...
Yeah, so I think you said once this association is made, it's always there, but it pretty much is, but it can actually morph over time. Actually, it's not even morphing, it's like a violent shift. Sometimes like you have these 5 associations, whatever, and then something else happens, and you can change all 5 at the same time to a brand new 5. So a lot of times I would say breakups is it's really easy for... Okay, oh my god, this is like getting worse and worse.
No, it's good actually.
Happy Valentine's Day! Okay, no, other like INFPs, I just feel like this is so against stereotype of INFPs. They're like so sentimental, so romantic, and they just love people forever. Yeah, and then you were saying that if I were breaking up with someone I still love, that sounds like the worst thing ever.
Right, yeah.
Generally, I tend to think, okay, if I like a person who had these amount of qualities and I break up with them for whatever reason, I still, the qualities are still there. But sometimes some things happen in a breakup which causes new information to surface, and then suddenly all my associations change and I no longer like them. Yeah, I kind of want to ask other SI users, because sometimes the associations are the same, but the feelings that were attached are totally gone. I remember memories with like crystal clarity, but whatever emotions I had during the memories is like it's just totally gone. Not just with breakups, like with everything. So it's kind of like I can look at my past with surgical precision usually. Right.
I do think like, and I just glean kind of general principles of like what I learned from these relationships. So I think that's maybe the memory, the sort of NI memory I have. It's not really specific to like the partner in general, but I'm just like, oh, in this relationship I learned these things about myself and about what I want in the next relationship, and in this relationship I learned these things, and so I kind of see it as like this continuum. Like it's a very linear thing. Like, okay, I started off with this kind of person and I learned these things in this relationship and grew, and I learned these things, and I kind of see myself just, continuing forward in that path. But yeah, I'm not very sentimental about past things, and I probably don't like even within a relationship, I think I don't remember past experiences very much.
Yeah, that's definitely like an SI thing. Yeah. SI users in relationships tend to create memories for the purpose of creating memories. Okay, yeah, so generally breaking up is not difficult, I guess, for INFP. But for me, like, this one thing could be difficult, which is if something that you want to happen in a relationship just didn't happen, and the relationship just suddenly ended, and then you had like, you feel like it could have gone like another way, then like my NE just spirals out of control, and I'm constantly thinking about like what I could have done differently to like make it unfold in a totally different way over and over again, like imagining like 100 different scenarios of how this relationship could have worked out, and they're totally crazy, and like beating myself up for like not doing the alternate thing instead of like what I did. Yeah, that's the hardest part.
That's so interesting. Okay, because I think this is an interesting NI-SI difference maybe, that I don't think I do this too hard, because I realize that like everyone has to learn things on their own time, like including myself, but I think the only thing I'm upset about is that like, oh, maybe there was like some red flags in the relationship that kept happening, and I like ignored them, or I didn't respond to them appropriately like the first like several times. So I think that's how I view life in general, and that just includes relationships, that like everything is like a learning experience and you can kind of glean something from it. So I think maybe in terms of relationships, I think like, oh, okay, like they were red flags way earlier on. I should have like got out of that relationship like way earlier, or I should have asserted myself in these respects like way earlier, those sorts of things.
Okay, just a trend that I've been finding with high NI users. Like, this is something I thought would be FE, but I think in my experience it's just the NI people who like, yeah, they don't give up on you, or like it really takes a long time to give up on you, whereas the SI users, honestly, sometimes I feel like you tick me off and there's one thing that's really important, and just no, like everything, all the future will be tainted with that one thing. Right. I mean, okay, it just sounds really trivial now, but the one thing could be really serious, like cheating, like, but the NI users, I'm not that they're not gonna break up with you for cheating, it's just that
Yeah, no,
It
it's a
seems
more
like
holistic thing, right? So it's like SI is looking at one particular instance, and that one thing can make or break their perception about the other person. But NI is like, okay, maybe this one time was an exception. Like, I need to see the overall pattern of their behavior, right?
okay, this is man, this is just so good. It's like a example, and it's just so hard to talk about this example because it was such an unhealthy relationship that should have ended after like 1 week. But okay, it's like my first relationship, and I've been trying to like break up with this person for like years because he knew that I've been trying to break up with him for so long. He was like, "Look, I'm gonna change all of my behaviors," and he's like a high NITE user. So then he tried to like just treat me better for I don't know, like a month or something. But then once he got like mad at me, and then he like, oh, it sounds so bad. He like poured water on me. So then I was like, okay, you like ruined everything. And then he didn't understand how like one thing. He was like, okay, what about everything else I did this month? How could you say that? He got so angry at me. Like he was already angry to pour the water, but after I said like, okay, no, I'm still breaking up with you because of this one thing that just is crossing boundaries. He's like, okay, what? How can you just ignore every improvement that I made over the last few months and focus on this one thing? But I think, yeah, that's totally what SI does. And see, I still remember. I'm sure he's forgotten about this already. He probably just remembers a general relationship trend and the breaking up trend. But no, I remember every single instance. So, yeah, when something really horrific happens, yeah, it's done. It's like done, like all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I think that is true with high NI users that like I guess NI just works on patterns, so we need like multiple instances of like a certain data point to really actually have an understanding of it, right? So I think we do just need to be with someone like for a while to really have an understanding of them, while maybe SI can kind of assess someone like fair, just a little bit quicker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe NI takes more time within the relationship to really be sure of whether or not, you know, they want to make this relationship work or whether it's just like hopeless. But then once it's like done, then I think the NI user is like really done.
I definitely think that once I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a SI thing or it's not. I'm going to say right now it's not an SI thing. But if I'm breaking up with someone, I've experienced all of the feelings before, and afterwards there's no feelings left. Oh, this thing is really interesting. It might be like a TE thing even, like TE versus FI thing. Yeah, sometimes for breakups, it seems that like people are thinking like where went wrong and how can I fix it? How can we fix the relationship? But then for me, which, yeah, this sounds like such a FI thing. For me, I think if a person no longer wants to be with me, like fixing things would be like the last thing to cross my mind. It would just be like, okay, that person's intentions and desires are gone. And I would never want to be with someone who doesn't have like romantic intentions anymore.
I mean, in theory, I think if I was like truly in love with them and like truly thought that this could work out, and maybe they didn't see that it could work out, I think that would be really difficult for me. I guess maybe as like a high TE user, where it's like, oh, I feel like, okay, there's just this problem, and like maybe you just don't see this problem, but like I see it and I see the potential for it being solved. But if that person didn't see, didn't really understand.
Oh no, that's so cool because it's not just a relationship thing. It's a FITE thing because your TE is like, okay, someone's feelings are not feeling right about this thing, but like there's a concrete problem that can be solved. But for me, the problem is the feeling, or the feeling is the biggest problem.
Right.
Whatever problem that you see is not even like in my periphery if I lost my feeling.
Right. Yeah,
or if the other person lost their feeling.
Yeah, I guess I would see it as like the feeling could potentially be brought back if like the issue was addressed. So I guess it's like, yeah, it's like TE over FI.
I feel like if someone just lost their feelings because of a problem, even if it is legitimately because of a problem, I would just be, honestly, I'd be so offended.
Right.
I feel like I would be losing my self-respect if like I just kept trying to fix things when the other person's feelings are gone. Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Although it is totally legitimate now that I'm seeing the other perspective.
Right. An interesting thing, I mean, I only dated like 3 guys, so it's not like a huge sample size, but I feel like the NI guys that I've stopped seeing, so both like NJs and like SPs, like once we were like over, I like never heard from them again. like, I think once both of them just, like, realized that there was, like, nothing happening between us, and, like, same with me, like, I do this too, like, once I realized there's nothing happening, and maybe the only difference would be that if we could potentially be friends after, then maybe we would just readjust our NI scheme to, like, okay, now I'm friends with this person, but I think we just didn't see that. No. So once with NI people, once it's done, then it's just like, yeah, I never hear from them again. But with the SI guy that I dated, who was...
No, yeah. I have the same experience. NI people have clean breaks, SI people have, like, messy breaks. Yeah. Why is this, audience? Like, why?
Yeah, like, with the SI guy, he was, like, he was an NP, so it was, like, a low SI user, too. But, like, even before we broke up, he was like, oh, when, you know, if we ever break up, like, can you just promise that, like, we'll always, like, stay in contact with each other? And I was like, okay, yeah, sure.
Oh, that's so relatable. I know he's like ENFP and I'm INFP. It's so relatable because the worst, yeah, I forgot to mention this part for some reason. The worst part about breaking up with someone who you still like is knowing that you're never going to see them again. So I prefer to, like, actually, yeah, no, I prefer to, like, keep in contact, actually.
Okay, guys, so let us know what you think about these trends. Maybe, like, let us know if it's always true in the case of, like, high SI versus low SI and, like, high NI versus low NI. And, yeah, right. just what are your experience with, like, breakups for you and, like, how other people approach breakups. And, yeah, it would be cool to get more data points.
Such an intense episode, oh my god.
Yeah. So, thanks, guys, for watching. If you enjoy our content, please consider pledging your support on Patreon. And thank you to all our wonderful Patrons for supporting us, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye! Don't eat too much ice cream.